Welcome back to Hello Nigeria. It is time for our top story, and our guest is seated with us right here in the studio. Now, we understand that October is the month of breast cancer awareness, and it's for women, but we understand also that behind every successful and happy woman is also a man who is alive and healthy, which is why we decided to talk about something that pertains to men, the care of the prostate. We'll be looking at sicknesses that are likely to plague the prostate and how to basically look after it. To discuss this with us, we have a medical doctor with public health background who is passionate about health management and has been practicing for over 11 years. She's married and is happily married with 3 kids. Her name is Dr. MONISOLA LAWAL. Thank you so much for joining us.
Hi.
Thanks for joining us,
Hello,
Dr.
thank
Lawal.
you everyone. Nice to be here again.
Good to have you again.
Yeah, I'm the man on the set, and this is a topic that concerns us. So I'll go with the first question.
Okay.
What is the prostate and where is it located?
Okay, yeah, thank you. Prostate makes up part of the male urogenital system. And its location sits just below the bladder and is anterior to the rectum. So basically, it also covers the urethra. So just to, I don't know if you can make it.
So it's internal.
When I hear urethra, I don't know why I think just women.
Okay, so no, men have it.
Of course
as well.
we have, because we pass urine.
So if you can imagine the bladder, just imagine something small that sits just below it, and then you have you have the rectum, so you can actually examine the prostate gland when you do a digital rectal examination. So still talking about it, it's about the size of a walnut. It's pretty small, just about sits right there, and then it houses the urethra. So whatever happens to the prostate can actually affect the urethra. It can compress the urethra. Okay, that's the image showing there. So you have the prostate there, and then urethra is the tube passing midline through the prostate gland. So what happens is if there's any obstruction to that, that's when you can have people, complaining about the symptoms that they have. I think we'll still talk about the symptoms. Okay. So it also produces like about 1/3 of the fluid, so of the fluid that the prostate produces. So it makes up about 1/3 of the semen, and it also helps in transporting the sperm during ejaculation. So the prostate is very small, but it actually has a lot of function.
Very small. I'm actually glad that Menga asked that question, because on a normal day, I know it might sound silly, someone asking what is a prostate, you think, doesn't everybody know? But for some reason, I've always imagined that the prostate was located somewhere in the scrotum, for some reason.
Same here.
And so it's an internal organ, not external.
Yes, it is.
All right, wonderful. Now, at what age does it begin to develop? Because a lot of times, the first time people hear about prostate is when they hear prostate cancer. Indeed, I think it's the cancer of the prostate or diseases that has made people come to talk about it. Because in biology, they don't usually focus on that. Like you mentioned the urethra, we talk about the scrotum, we talk about the other organs in the body, but like you mentioned, perhaps because of its size, so small, yet so significant. So at what age should one start to care for their prostate, or look at ways to, because we talk about the kidneys aging, livers age just as we age as adults, and we need to start caring for the kidneys, drink more water, do this and that. How can we begin to care for the prostate, and at what age should we start being mindful of it?
Okay, so the first thing is to know that yes, the prostate does exist in every man, and the prostate continues to grow even in a normal situation. So what happens is, as the man grows, the prostate increases in size. But it's not in every man that it causes problems. So yes, there are some diseases that, yes, it can come from the prostate. You can have prostatitis, you can have BPH, and then you can have prostate cancer. So, but then for prostatitis, it affects men of the younger age, and then basically any age as well. But then for BPH, we start worrying about BPH.
Oh, what's BPH? Sorry.
BPH, that's benign prostatic hyperplasia. So this is an enlargement of the cells of the prostate gland. So from age 40, men need to start screening, so they'll be able to rule out if they have any signs of BPH or they have BPH as a whole.
All right.
And then for prostate cancer, of course, it affects the elderly as well. So prostatitis can affect anybody at any age. But yes, the younger people can be affected. And what is that? It's an infection of the prostate gland.
Okay, what are the signs to look out for?
Okay, so
what are the symptoms?
You remember when I was trying to describe the prostate to you, I told you about the location of the prostate gland. And I also told you that it surrounds the urethra. So we know that, yes, the urethra helps us when we're passing urine. When men want to pass urine, it goes through the urethra from the bladder. So you just imagine something like a straw that passes through, and that's how the urine or other fluids are taken out of the bladder. So even when when a man needs to ejaculate, it comes out through the urethra as well. And then the semen as well comes out through the urethra. So basically that's what that does.
All right, so you've mentioned certain conditions that can plague the prostate. That's prostatitis, benign hyperplasia,
benign prostate,
yes, benign prostatic hyperplasia, and prostate cancer.
Yes.
What's the difference between all these three? And is an enlargement a sign that one could have any of these three diseases?
Okay, so for prostatitis, that's an inflammation of the prostate gland. And this is usually caused by an infection. For BPH is benign prostatic hyperplasia. This is caused when there's an enlargement of the cells of the prostate gland. But it's a benign condition. It's not malignant. Prostate cancer, however, is malignancy, is a malignant tumor of the prostate gland. Now, for prostatitis, is an infection. So anybody can get an infection, but it's not very, very common. It's not as common as you would say BPH. So benign prostatic hyperplasia, even though it's a benign condition, it's very common. So every man, as the age increases, is at higher chances of developing BPH. But the issue is a lot of people do not speak up about these conditions. So you were asking about the symptoms to look out for. So looking at that location and looking at the fact that the urethra is what carries all those fluids. So for some men, the first thing they might notice is that they're urinating frequently, more frequently than normal. They will notice some changes in their urine pattern. It might be that they have some hesitancy. So they have this urge to pass urine. But at the same time, when they now get, they feel like if they don't go to pass it immediately, they might just soil themselves. And they might now get to the point of passing the urine, and it's not coming out as fast as they expect. Or they can start passing the urine, and then they might be having some hesitancy going on. So you might come and stop and all. And you know that for men, men can stand and then void. But then for people who have BPH, they might not be able to get that kind of void that they want. So there will definitely be some changes in their urine pattern. But however, it's not everyone that has it so serious that it becomes bothersome. So that's it. They start having those changes. They might have the need to wake up more frequently at night to pass urine. So I'm talking about all of that. You'll be thinking that, okay, there are other conditions, yes, that can cause that. We've talked about prostatitis. And then even a man who has diabetes who can have those symptoms. So the major thing is that when they notice a change in their urine pattern, they should actually speak up.
So what happens if it's untreated or if...
Okay, so if it's untreated, it can get complicated. So, and that's what happens a lot of times because men do not actually come up on time to talk. So most of them, by the time they're actually seeing their doctor for the first time, it might be because they already have acute urinary retention. What is acute urinary retention? This is a state when the man is not able to void at all. You know, it's a different case you want to void and then it's coming out little in trickles. Now, they're not able to, and it's a very painful condition. So you find out that they get taken to the emergency because they can't void at all. And you can imagine when you're pressed, you know how much pressure you feel when you're pressed. So you now have accumulated urine that they have not been able to pass. And of course, you know that when that happens, infection can set in. And then for some people, even get so bad, they wait for a long time. And some of them might even have hematuria. They might start having blood in their urine already. It can even get so bad, and then their kidneys can get damaged.
Wow.
So
it's a serious situation.
Yes, it's a serious one. But like I said, it's benign. It's not cancerous. But at the same time, people need to actually seek help early.
So what are the solutions to BPH? What are the things that can be done? Is it just by surgery? Are there drugs or particular lifestyle changes that can help someone who's been diagnosed?
Okay, well, for BPH, like I said, every man at some point can have it, and then the incidence increases with the age. But then, if BPH now occurs and they're able to pick this early, if the man seeks help on time, or maybe during screening. So the first thing is that men should actually get screened. From age of 40, they should have yearly screening where the doctors will check
of their prostate.
Is it a specific screening or the general screening can detect it?
Well, for a man, if a man goes for health check,
yes,
it is expected that the doctor checks the total bin. And then you'll be able to, and then the man should also ask. since the man is aware, should also ask the doctor about it. But for every man that is over 40, you expect that the doctor should request for a PSA, the doctor should examine, and then part of examination, they would examine the prostate as well.
The full meaning of PSA?
Prostate-specific antigen.
Okay.
So now this gets elevated, and then they're able to pick it up. This is sometimes is during screening that they have high PSA, that they might even pick up prostate cancer as well. So when a man is getting screened when necessary, they can actually pick up a lot of things. Because sometimes prostate cancer is silent.
Okay.
They might not even have these symptoms, and at the end of the day, by the time they're going to find out, it might be that it's even too late.
That's why you recommend annual checks once you turn 40.
Yes.
Okay, I think another thing that is important that we ask is, what are the causes of these things? Is any of them sexually transmitted, or are there any lifestyle changes that make one predisposed, or is it hereditary as well? So how do people contact this?
Okay, so we can talk about that as a whole. But then prostatitis, I said, that's due to an infection. So yes,
is it sexually transmitted?
Yes, they can get it from that. It can be sexually transmitted. It can be from other. It can be from a procedure. It can be from a lot of other things. So for that, how can it be prevented? Now, hygiene is very important for that. But then
hygiene in that you don't wear one boxers for 2 years.
Men should generally take care of their private parts. You know, all of that, and then protection. So if they're having sexual intercourse, for instance, they need to actually protect themselves. Now, and then treatment for that would be, yes, the doctor would treat them and then give antibiotics for that. Now, for BPH, the cause is generally unknown, but there's been a lot of studies that have been done to actually check out what actually causes it. Hormones have been implicated. So, and then apart from that, there are also major and minor risk factors. The major one is, like I said, is inevitable, increasing age. And then also the size of the prostate as well. No, so the prostate normally weighs about 18 to 25 grams when it's, you know, in a normal setting. But as it continues to grow, we have people who get 40 grams, and then we have even more than that. So it can double in size, but for some people, it can double in size and might not cause them any issues. But it can double in size, and then it can cause some obstruction. So for that, all the major, I've talked about age, I've talked about high PSA, and then also the fact that there are other minor factors like smoking. So if a man smokes, it's at a very high.
You know, I wonder why they've not banned the sale of cigarettes. Because every time we come here, they're always talking about cigarettes. Maybe because of the taxes they collect from cigarette companies. Because it should be banned.
That smokers are liable to die young.
Well, so the thing is, we can't actually, because people have rights to do what they want, but we can help to improve knowledge. So we can help to say, okay, they should actually reduce smoking, stop smoking.
They should just totally stop it. I don't know what you get when you are not Shongo.
Okay, so talking about that though, smoking, alcohol intake as well also affects that. So when you look at them,
inherited?
Yes, hereditary too.
Hereditary.
For prostate cancer, if there's been prostate cancer in one of the family member, it actually increases the risk. Also, men who have a family, maybe relative, a father, a brother who has had BPH should start screening early as well. So they shouldn't miss their screening so that they can be picked up early. Prostatitis, like I said, is not anything about heredity. It's an infection that can be gotten by anybody. So also, the kind of diet has also been implicated. So people who take a lot of fatty food, people who, you know, generally live a sedentary lifestyle can also. So with the prostate, we found out that yes, if you watch the diet, you exercise, you quit smoking, you quit alcohol, you screen early.
Avoid fatty foods.
Many men worry about sugar intake with regards to their reproductive organs and everything around there. Would you say sugar intake is, you know, has an adverse effect as well?
Well, everything should be taken in moderation. That's the truth. And as you grow, you should actually be more conscious of your health. So, well, sugar intake, yes, we should actually reduce the amount of sugar. And then salt as well. Low salt, low sugar, more of vegetables. So we should add a lot of greens to our meals. And then I think the issue is we take a lot of carbs. And you know that carbs too, yes, sugar as well.
Sugar, yes.
So, yes, a little carb and more vegetables. And then a lot of water. And we should exercise. Because that's one issue that we have. As Nigerians, a lot of people just get into the car and move. Everybody's guilty. But from time to time, we should try and, get a bit of exercise. Yes.
Thank you so much for this very eye-opening conversation. I've had a lot to learn, even though I do not have a prostate, and we hope you've been able to learn as well. We've been speaking with Dr. MONISOLA LAWAL. When we return from this break, we'll be wrapping up shortly. Please stay with us.
To enjoy more of these our Ogbonge videos when you just watch, press this button to subscribe on top of our YouTube page. You go